Welcome to a fresh, hot episode that we had to rush in here to do so that it's not behind, so it's relevant.
So it's current.
So it's current. Welcome to Current Event News.
Beep, 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 beep. I don't have a sound for that.
Oh, you got any sounds? Don't play
I
any.
do.
Don't play any.
Okay.
Unless you got one you really want to show off.
Nah.
Okay. This episode, we are going to discuss the Heaven Hill strike.
Yes.
And if you look around the studio behind us, you see no Heaven Hill bottles. So you can guess which position we lean towards.
Correct.
So we're going to bottle kill this 1920, which has always been a big favorite. I'm sorry. This is not much in here.
It's enough.
Yeah. So, Heaven Hill. They're on strike right now.
Yep.
If you live under a rock. Or maybe you just aren't paying attention. Which was a 96% vote.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Of 420 production workers. And I got to say, I know it's like, it seems like it's well-timed with the upcoming Kentucky Bourbon Festival, but it's actually just the contract was running out, and now it has expired, and they did not renegotiate terms. And Gus and I are both do contract work, so we understand how that works. But in case you don't, basically you sign a contract that you will get paid this amount of money, and you have this kind of benefits or whatever from this day until the end of the contract.
Right.
So this contract expired, and they did not come to an agreement based on a couple things. One was pay. The other one you read was weekend work.
Yeah. Specifically, they wanted to push any weekend shifts on new hires or people that had only been working so many years. So it would, but they were apparently very vague on the details of that. And that threw up a bunch of red flags for them.
Yeah. If they would have labeled it, the way they actually, if they would have actually came out with a game plan, it probably would have worked, because I don't think the new hires would really be paying attention.
Probably not.
But the people that have been there, especially one lady we saw, she'd been there 40 years. This is her second strike. Like, she's going to notice.
Yeah,
she knows better than to, like, that's one thing we see too. A lot of time with new hires, they don't read their contract.
Yeah. And then they fall subject to what we refer to in the industry as the old bait and switch, where you were told or thought you understood it as one thing, and then when you get on board and everything's all said and done, you're actually getting or being asked to do something different.
Yes. Bait and switch is a big thing in contracting. So this particular incident is Bardstown only. The Heaven Hills Bernheim Distillery is a separate union. So this union is local 23D, and a lot of things that I'm seeing are things like support us, don't buy, people over profits. I agree, I think.
Well, some of the other things that they mentioned were that this new contract removed caps on health insurance premiums, which would give Heaven Hill and whomever they choose to get their employees' health insurance through, there'd be no limit to how much they could increase those premiums. So people who have been for the last 5 years or however long this previous contract was good for, have gotten used to those terms. These people and their families could see insurance premiums that go through the roof.
Which is another thing when you're discussing, I don't know if this is true, I don't work at Heaven Hill Distillery, but if you work there and you want to come on here and chit chat, we're all about it. But the information that we have gathered is the average pay is $21 to $24 an hour with a cap. They were saying the total cost in order to increase their pay or make this more fair to the company would have been under $6 million. You saw a $5 million.
Yeah.
And then someone quoted that they have $5 million in revenue, which anyone that runs or operates a business understands revenue does not equal cash in their pocket. However, I think they could have probably met these people somewhere.
Yeah, they probably could have at least met somewhere in the middle. Did you happen to look at Heaven Hill's acquisitions in the last year?
I haven't, but I did write down some of the stuff they've been doing since 2010. They've put more than $100 million into tourism. And in 2018, they started a $65 million renovation.
Yeah.
So they are spending money, a lot of it.
And that's my point, is that, understandably there are costs and expenses associated with running and growing and sustaining a business, but maybe 60 million instead of 65 million.
Right.
And giving your people who make it all possible at the end of the day, what they're asking for isn't such a big ask. And of course, it's easy to say here from, our desk. But
that was also their complaint, was that they put $65 million into renovation in order to get new ways for them to make money, as opposed to taking care of the people they already have. which you could say that, well, that $65 million invested into the company in order to create new revenue would eventually roll downhill.
Yep.
But I think we all work for an employer and know that that's probably not the case.
You know, it's funny because I saw a post today on LinkedIn of all places, and people like to get real, I don't know, bent out of shape over certain things on LinkedIn. But the guy's comment said that he's seeing a lot of sign-on bonuses being offered, big sign-on bonuses for new hires. And he's like, but where are the loyalty bonuses for employees that have stuck around through all the BS, through the whole COVID thing, you know, transitioning back and forth between at home and in the office and dealing with the ups and downs, and have stuck through and continue to perform? Where's, you know, the loyalty bonuses, so to speak? And this is a good example of kind of where that falls in line, is taking care of the people who have been making it possible the whole time.
Well, the other thing, too, is just a double stab in the back, is that during the pandemic, they deemed distillery workers essential. So they actually increased their work in order to make the whiskey they were already making, but also create hand sanitizer.
That's right. They were making hand sanitizer. Yeah. I forgot all about that.
So not only did they stab them in the back by saying, hey, now you're an essential worker, you must work more because we have to provide this thing.
Yeah.
But then they also, as you're saying, they were offering sign-on bonuses.
And nothing changed for them in terms of pay or... Oh, that was the other thing, overtime. That one article I read said they were going to take overtime away or limit overtime.
What could you imagine working for a company and they're like, we're not going to pay you if you work more than what we're asking you to work?
To me, that... yeah. There was a joke there. I didn't get it at first.
Yeah.
But
we both do that.
Yeah. But I think that's where the weekend work comes in, is that they weren't going to allow overtime, so they were going to make up for it by having a weekend shift, so that overtime wasn't necessary during the week. Maybe that's a business thought, but however it is they coined it, it did not go over well after months of negotiating.
It did not.
And of course, all we're privy to is the anecdotal news articles from the media and then from the statement from the union. We're not seeing all the intimate details of...
Which I'll read some of that statement, but Heaven Hill hasn't really said anything. So this is the statement from the...
Local 23D, which is the union that's on strike.
So it's pretty long, but they start with Heaven Hill Distilleries workers have been on the front lines of this pandemic, and they talk about that through shutdowns, keeping strong to the economy, healthcare price hikes that reduce take-home pay, cuts to overtime, and drastic scheduling changes are no way to recognize the incredible service of these Kentucky essential workers. How can a company making $500 million a year justify making healthcare more expensive for essential workers in the middle of a pandemic? That's kind of where they started it, and then they roll through talking about not being home to take care of your kids because you're working so much, and there's never more pay in it. And one lady, the lady had been there for 40 years. She said one of her employees had a divorce, and the supervisor was like, "Let me know if you need anything." You know, because they were family minded. Which everybody looks at these distillers and they think family. You know, because they talk about that, how they help each other out.
Sure.
Well, I don't think that's such the case anymore.
Well, it's a very romantic way to look at the whole bourbon industry and distilling, and that was probably the case. And I hope it still is for a lot of places, but some of these bigger distilleries, we have to stop romanticizing everything about it. It's easy to get wrapped up in it when you go on a distillery tour. You watch their cool marketing that they've spent how much on tourism? They put
$100 million.
$100 million into. So their advertisements better be pretty good and make you feel like your family too. But the truth is, at the end of the day, they're a corporate business, right? They have shareholders that they have to answer to, and profits are important to them.
Yeah, there's a lot of people getting paid out of that $500 million. So I had to imagine if it was just $5 million and they were truly bankrolling $500 million all the time, that they would have just done it. So there's got to be more involved. And again, I'm not getting in the back of the distillery. I think that you should pay your workers a fair wage. Yeah,
especially like just the idea. I mean, you could have, when you said earlier, increasing price or health costs to essential workers in the middle of a pandemic, you could have stopped right there, and I would have been like, well, that's bullshit.
Yep, it is.
But the fact that there's more to add on top of it just drives the point home. I think that they have, again, we don't know all the details. We don't know what they were of the contract. But
we tried to find the exact details of the contract, and
that kind of stuff's going to be held close to the vest. But I have to imagine that if this is the second strike that this lady has seen in 40 years, I have to believe that there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
These unions don't take striking lightly. It's not something they do. They vote on it. It has to be, to have a night, what did you say, 96%?
Yeah, it was 96%, 420 workers.
That's that's an overwhelming majority that have put their foot down.
Yeah.
So,
and it was either agree or strike. Those are the only, it was agree to the terms or strike. And 96% said we strike. So if 96%, that's a pretty high number to scoff at, to be like, I don't know. If it was 50-50, it's like maybe there's more to the story. But if 96% of the people that work there said, no, this isn't fair, we're not doing it, it's probably not fair.
Do they continue to make any money from the union or any is their income subsidized at all?
Again, I tried to find a lot of the stuff. I see mentions of you can go help donate that goes to the workers to pay their bills in the meantime. So I would guess not.
Okay.
So to make the decision to not get paid anymore, I mean, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, their contract is over. So
if that is the case, then that just again goes to show just how serious they are. I guess is the only word I can think of about these terms. That they're willing to step back and say, you know what, in the short term, I'm willing to not have a paycheck in order to drive the point home.
Right. So to wrap it up, some notable brands from Heaven Hill, in case you wondered. Obviously, Elijah Craig, Evan Williams, Henry McKenna, Larceny, Parker's Heritage, and Old Fitzgerald. They also make vodka, tequila, gin, several other things. Their list is very long. Not going to read it. Just going over the top hitters, I guess, the things that we removed from our shelves.
In support, in solidarity.
Yep, and support for the workers. It's not fair. Should be paid a fair wage to work a good job, you know?
Yeah, and one of the other things they brought up is, like, in comparison to other major distilleries, like Heaven Hill, apparently they are paid.
I couldn't validate that either.
Yeah,
but apparently Heaven Hill is the lowest of the well-known distilleries.
I have to imagine if you work up there and you're in that circle, like, it's not hard to call up somebody you know.
Jim, what's Turkey paying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I hope it goes well. I hope it doesn't take long, and I hope they get back to business as usual sooner than later.
Yep. That was a little quick update in case you've been reading about Heaven Hill Distillery, reading about the strike, wanted to know a little bit more. We figured we'd we do a little bit of research that we did and hop in here and tell you. You can also get on Reddit. There's a lot of Reddit pages covering this.
Oh, yeah, probably.
That's where I got a lot of this information, was people from the distillery speaking on Reddit.
Oh, nice.
So, but again, that's all I got. Thanks for joining us.
Later.